It's time to blast off and see if we can make it to the trade station to get some desperately needed metal grids, because we're playing with no refinery and no jetpack, as well as several other challenges. So let's get going. The only thing we need is to gather a little more ice and process that into hydrogen fuel. It seems this drill rig has gone through the layer of ice and is now just drilling up stone, which isn't bad. We can use the stone. But what I'll need to do is move the drill rig over a little to reach more ice. This was the most basic of drill rigs, maybe too basic, but it does what I need to. I probably should cover up this hole though. Without a jetpack, I'd get stuck and I'd have to hand drill my way out and probably make a mess. I ran over a couple conveyors and reattached the drill rig, then realized I need just a little more ground height. In hindsight, I could have made this a little simpler and stuck the drill on the side of the conveyors, but I'll fix that next time. Yes, the new displays are working great. It's such a nice upgrade. Our obligatory meteor shot. I don't see or show them all, but they're definitely a danger. Okay, the hydrogen tanks are filled, and I almost forgot one last critical thing: oxygen bottles for myself. This is just an exposed helm with no pressurization or oxygen, so yeah, that would have been bad. A last pre-flight check. Hydrogen tanks are full. Batteries are charged. Let's go.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
Looks like we'll make it to space. But now, the hard part. Some people had suggested using two thrusters as VTOL thrusters to pivot around and provide directional thrust, which might sound like a good idea, but for game reasons I don't understand, after you've been thrusting forwards a bit, and in a straight line even, the ship won't slow down properly without thrusters, at least in some of the other directions. Here, I've got my inertial dampeners on, but need to wiggle the ship around for it to slowly flick down my velocity to zero. It does pretty good getting down to about 1-ish meters per second, and when I get under 0.1 meters per second, it completely stabilizes. But this small bit of speed here is what's problematic, and just requires patience. But it will eventually stop. Now, it's a matter of pointing to the station and doing a burn to get there. Alright, I've gotten caught back in Pertam's gravity, which will now cause my ship to start traveling in a second direction, so let me point away from the planet, hit the thrusters, and get a nice safe distance from the curve of the planet's surface. We'll just coast away for a bit and get ourselves stopped. Alright, so with the gravity pull sorted, we're back on the flight path. I know it's not much of a thing, but I oddly like the way this ship turned out. It has character. There it is. Time to get ourselves stopped again and get closer. Alright, let's get this thing checked out. It looks like there's a landing pad on the top left, and it has a horizontal connector on the outside to the right, and a very cool interior hangar with a connector for bottom docking. I know it looks like my ship is set up for horizontal docking, but it's not really. When you disengage from a helm or cockpit, the game tends to position you back in the original orientation and distance as you were when you mounted the control station. On Pertam, I was standing on the platform with the connector facing down, so the safest dismount would be for me to connect the ship vertically down like I had when I left. That should put me standing on the floor if I'm able to fit and connect inside the hangar. Besides, the hangar just seems way cooler. Success! We've done it. We've reached the station and successfully docked. I want to check this place out, but first, I'll power some things down to conserve batteries. We have the little walkway out to the other connector, a hallway that looks to end in death with no jetpack, and a stair which leads to the roof landing pad area with no connector. Nice. Alright, let's see what this station has to offer. We'll look at the contracts in a minute, but I just have to find out exactly what they sell here. I was extremely disappointed. This had nothing but what I'd call vending machine items. No components, no ingots, not even any ships. This was devastating. I just pondered what to do now. I wandered a couple times back around the space station, checking out all the little nooks and crannies. Surely I had missed another store, but there was nothing. The only thing I did discover new was that the corridor I thought led to death actually led down to a lower level kind of engineering access area. Cool, but not helpful. I checked out the contracts. My ship was not at all equipped to be fighting, and its maneuverability would make even these search missions a nightmare. I did wonder that if I took one of the hauling contracts, would it probably show the destination of another space station? And maybe that one would have what I needed. They were very far though, in the neighborhood of 5,000 kilometers, 100 times the distance I'd traveled from Pertam to get here, and they were timed. There was just no way I could get there before the clock ran out, and probably even before oxygen went dry. I don't think I could carry enough hydrogen bottles. They're really more designed for folks with jump drives. I pondered some more. I remembered that the stores do have a refresh cycle, 20 minutes by default, and I'd probably been here at least 20 minutes, so I looked again. Indeed, an item or two had left and a new item for some hand weapon ammunition had showed up. So, my plan was to just wait a while, go through a couple store refreshes, and see what happens. So I took a seat and waited. I waited quite a while and went through about 3 or 4 more store refresh cycles. And even though things changed around a little bit, it was basically the same items I'd seen before. Nothing particularly useful for me. My plan A, to find a trade station on the surface of Pertam with my starter GPS pad, had failed. Plan B, to raid assert bases and get metal grids, had failed. Plan C, to get to this space station on a janky 2-thruster ship to quickly buy some components, hadn't worked. Plan D, to take a hauling mission to find another trade station, I just don't think mathematically would work. And this Plan E, to wait for a store refresh, was clearly not going to work either. The store just was not going to present much more than what it already had. I was running out of plans. As I sat and thought about what to do, the benevolent wife of Clang sent me a gift. It flashed on the screen for only a second, or so I thought. So I looked and focused in that direction. Yes, it was a Mayday signal, and it was from the Space Pirate faction. Now, every time I'd fought the Assert bases on Pertam, it made me lose reputation with the Assert faction. But I gained reputation with the space pirates, and at this point, I was in a fairly good neutral standing with them. So this pirate mayday signal would be perfectly safe to approach if it still had working defenses. And there was a possibility it would have at least a couple items I could salvage for metal grids. It could be a wrecked base, it could be a disabled ship, anything. But it didn't matter. Hope was still alive. My next mission plan was clear. Leave the base, navigate on 2 thrusters to the mayday signal, drop a GPS marker, fly back to Pertam, survive the landing, get to my base, retrieve the ship with my rover, enhance my ship with a ship grinder because I wouldn't be able to let go of the helm in space to salvage anything without a jetpack, fly back to the mayday signal on 2 thrusters, find and grind parts, survive re-entry and landing again back on Pertam. Yeah, easy, right? But there was a way, and I was going to succeed. Like and subscribe to see how it turns out, and I'll see you in the next episode.